Do you think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a...
In a candid and unexpected moment, President Joe Biden found himself in hot water when he unknowingly left his microphone on during a White House press briefing. What was meant to be a private, sarcastic remark turned into a public snafu that drew attention from both the press and the public. This incident, while surprising, is far from the first time a U.S. president has experienced an awkward or uncomfortable moment in the spotlight. From unscripted gaffes to unexpected mic blunders, presidential faux pas are not uncommon. Here's a look at this particular moment with Biden, as well as other instances in history when presidents found themselves in awkward situations. The mock movie trailer. In June 2018, President Donald Trump met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore for a historic summit, which marked the first-ever meeting between a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader. During the meeting, Trump showed Kim a 4-minute movie clip titled A Story of Opportunity for North Korea, which aimed to depict a future where North Korea prospered by giving up its nuclear weapons. The video was meant to persuade Kim Jong-un to abandon his nuclear ambitions in exchange for economic prosperity and international peace. It presented a vision of North Korea as a flourishing, modernized nation, but its approach raised eyebrows among experts. According to The Atlantic, the video took an idealistic and optimistic approach, showing a prosperous North Korea that would thrive without the burden of nuclear weapons. However, it quickly became apparent that the clip failed to account for the complexities of North Korean leadership. Mike Green, an expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, pointed out a significant flaw in the video. It did not fully understand the way North Korean leaders think about their economy and political control. Green explained that North Korea's leaders are focused on maintaining tight control over their population, avoiding outside influences, and ensuring the elite have access to wealth and luxury without opening up to broader international economic forces. The video's message of economic prosperity through cooperation with the outside world was in direct contrast to the North Korean regime's prioritization of self-reliance and isolationism. Despite the criticism, Trump remained confident that Kim Jong-un appreciated the video. At a press conference, Trump remarked, "I think he loved it," and dismissed concerns that North Korea might use the video for propaganda purposes. He insisted that the trailer was not a tool for bad publicity. The Los Angeles Times reported that Kim Jong-un appeared to enjoy the clip, comparing it to a science fiction movie. Kim's comments suggested that, while he may have found the video entertaining, it was unlikely to have a substantial impact on his stance regarding North Korea's nuclear weapons program. The video episode became a symbol of the unique and often unorthodox nature of Trump's diplomatic approach. While the attempt to use media as a tool of persuasion was unconventional, the video was emblematic of the challenges that arose from the summit. The stark differences in political ideologies and priorities between the U.S. and North Korea. Despite the hopeful tone of the video, it seemed clear that Kim Jong-un remained committed to his country's policies, regardless of the visual allure of economic prosperity offered in the video. President Biden's unpresidential remark. In January 2022, during a White House press briefing, Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy asked President Joe Biden a question that seemed to catch the president off guard. Doocy inquired, "Do you think inflation is a political liability ahead of the midterms?" Biden, who appeared amused by the question, didn't realize that his microphone was still on. His response, delivered sarcastically, was, "It's a great asset, more inflation," followed by the surprising remark, "What a stupid son of a beep." The offhand comment quickly drew attention, as it was overheard by reporters in the room, despite the fact that Biden likely didn't intend for it to be heard by the public. Business Insider reported that the White House did not respond to requests for a comment on the incident. However, Ducey later explained on the 5 that he didn't actually hear the president's comment at the time it was made. "I couldn't even hear him because people were shouting at us to get out," Ducey said. It wasn't until a few minutes later, when someone approached him in the briefing room, that he learned about the insult. Despite the surprising nature of Biden's comment, Ducey seemed unfazed. He even joked about it with Fox News host Jesse Waters, showing that he didn't take the remark too seriously. However, CNN's chief White House correspondent, Caitlin Collins, reported that President Biden later reached out to Ducey to apologize for the comment. According to Ducey, the president called him within an hour of the incident to clear the air. On Fox News, Ducey confirmed the exchange, explaining that they had a good conversation and expressing appreciation for Biden's apology. The incident highlighted an awkward moment in the press room, but also demonstrated how both parties were able to move past the incident with an apology and a candid conversation, ultimately putting the matter to rest. The story was widely covered and became a moment of intrigue for the press corps, showing the behind-the-scenes dynamics of White House interactions. President George W. Bush dodges flying footwear. On December 14, 2008, a remarkable and symbolic event took place during a press conference in Baghdad between the leaders of Iraq and the United States. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki and U.S. President George W. Bush. This was Bush's second visit to Iraq, 6 years after the U.S. invasion, which had been launched to locate weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, but resulted in widespread devastation. The conference quickly became notorious due to the dramatic and impassioned actions of an Iraqi journalist, Muntadar al-Zaidi. As President Bush addressed the media, justifying the U.S. invasion as a necessary action for world peace, al-Zaidi stood up, interrupting the proceedings. In Arabic, he loudly declared, "This is a gift from the Iraqis. This is the farewell kiss, you dog," before hurling his shoe at Bush. Bush, quick to react, ducked to avoid the flying shoe. Undeterred, al-Zaidi threw his other shoe, shouting, "This is from the widows, orphans, and those who died in Iraq." Again, Bush managed to evade the projectile. Security quickly subdued al-Zaidi, pushing him to the ground and removing him from the scene while he continued to yell in anger. The incident was widely covered and became a symbol of Iraqi resistance and frustration with the U.S. occupation. Bush, however, downplayed the act, saying in a CBS interview, "So what if the guy threw a shoe at me?" Despite the light-hearted dismissal, al-Zaidi was arrested and faced criminal charges for assaulting a foreign head of state. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but served only 9 months before being released early for good behavior. Following his release, al-Zaidi left Iraq but returned in 2011. In 2018, al-Zaidi made headlines once again when he announced his candidacy for the Iraqi parliament, signaling a shift in his activism from symbolic protests to direct political engagement. His journey from journalist to politician reflects the enduring resentment toward the U.S. invasion and the deep impact it had on Iraqi society. President Donald Trump's very long handshake with Prime Minister Abe. In February 2017, an awkward moment between U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe quickly captured public attention. The two leaders met in Washington, D.C., and during their greeting, they shared a 19-second handshake that became widely discussed for its oddities. The encounter was not only notable for its extended length, but also for the manner in which Trump conducted the handshake. Trump, known for his sometimes unorthodox behavior, squeezed, held, and even pulled on Abe's hand, leaving many viewers perplexed by the uncomfortable interaction. The awkwardness was compounded by reports that Trump was not particularly fond of shaking hands in general, which made the prolonged and tense moment even more out of place. Before the handshake began, Prime Minister Abe asked Trump, "Shall we shake hands?" which marked the start of what would become an uncomfortable few moments for both men. As they stood together, Trump seemed distracted, asking Abe about what the reporters were saying, referring to the Japanese-speaking media in the room. Abe, maintaining a diplomatic demeanor, smiled broadly and gently directed Trump's attention back to him, saying, "Please look at me." Trump appeared confused by the instruction and stared at Abe as if not fully grasping the suggestion. Meanwhile, Abe subtly pointed at the cameras, trying to guide the president's focus to where it should be for the photo op. The handshake finally ended with Trump patting Abe on the back of his hand before releasing his grip. The exchange was so uncomfortable that social media erupted in response. One tweet, which has since been deleted, joked that it seemed like Trump was having a love affair with Abe's hand, as the Japanese leader struggled to regain control of the handshake. This moment, emblematic of Trump's often unusual public interactions, became a topic of the global conversation and added to the growing narrative of his unpredictable style in diplomacy. President Joe Biden, repeatedly tripped. Trying to board Air Force One. In December 2021, a moment of physical misfortune involving President Joe Biden made headlines when he struggled to ascend the steps of Air Force One. As he was preparing to board the plane for a trip to meet with leaders from the Asian American community, Biden fell 3 times, each stumble visible to the media and onlookers. The falls, although minor, sparked widespread attention and concern, particularly over the president's physical fitness. After finally making it to the top of the stairs, Biden gave a greeting, but the focus quickly shifted to the incident. White House Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre addressed the situation, offering a reassuring response to reporters. "It's very windy. I almost fell going up the stairs myself," she said, attributing the falls to the gusty conditions. She quickly emphasized that the president was doing 100% fine, and when asked whether Biden had visited a doctor following the mishap, Jean-Pierre reiterated, "He was doing fine. He's doing great." Despite her attempts to downplay the incident, the fall generated a significant amount of discussion. In the wake of the incident, political figures responded with differing tones. Donald Trump Jr. took to Twitter with a mocking comment, downplaying the fall and using it as an opportunity to criticize Biden's physical state. "Pay no attention to the fact that the President of the United States is so frail that he got knocked over repeatedly by a gust of wind. Nothing at all to see here, folks," he wrote, alongside a spoof video making fun of the president's stumble. Meanwhile, actor and activist Jeffrey Wright offered a different perspective, defending the president against the mocking commentary. Wright expressed that Biden's physical mishap did not concern him in the slightest, so long as the president continued to focus on pressing issues, particularly the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. "I don't care if Joe Biden trips on the Air Force One stairs stone drunk after an all-nighter, so long as he keeps pounding COVID with this vaccine rollout right," Wright wrote, highlighting the importance of Biden's leadership in tackling the pandemic over trivial matters like a fall. The incident, while seemingly minor, became a focal point in the ongoing political discourse, sparking debates about the president's age, health, and leadership. It illustrated how even the most unremarkable moments can be quickly politicized in the current climate. President Donald Trump stared at an eclipse. On August 21, 2017, the United States was captivated by the Great American Eclipse, a rare total solar eclipse visible across a wide swath of the country. The excitement was palpable as millions of Americans prepared to witness the celestial phenomenon. Experts and public health officials took to the media, emphasizing the importance of proper eye protection. Special eclipse glasses were necessary to safely observe the event, as looking directly at the sun could cause severe eye damage. Safety guidelines were clear. Never look at the sun without proper glasses. However, when it was time for President Donald Trump, his wife Melania Trump, and their son Barron to watch the eclipse from the balcony of the White House's Blue Room, the president opted to disregard the advice. Despite the widespread warnings, Trump looked up at the sky without the protective glasses. His action quickly drew attention, as people nearby shouted, "Don't look at it." President Trump squinted at the sun and pointed at the eclipse, briefly observing the event without any apparent concern for the potential harm to his eyes. The situation raised eyebrows, given the medical consensus on the dangers of directly staring at the sun. Experts, including Dr. Neo Bressler, an eye doctor at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, had warned that even brief exposure to the sun without proper eye protection could damage the retina. Dr. Bressler explained that the retina's center, known as the macula, could suffer irreversible harm from direct sunlight, leading to permanent vision impairment. The incident was widely covered, with many questioning the president's disregard for safety guidelines, while others found it to be a curious moment in the midst of a historic event. While the eclipse was a mesmerizing spectacle for the nation, it also underscored the importance of following expert advice to protect one's health. Trump's decision to ignore the recommendations, especially as a public figure, became a talking point for commentators, contrasting with the careful precautions observed by many Americans who were eager to experience the rare cosmic event safely. Obama and Putin's awkward lunch. In 2015, former President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin had an uneasy and tense encounter at a dinner hosted at the United Nations. The dinner, which brought together world leaders, was marked by a particularly awkward moment when Obama and Putin, seated next to each other, shared a toast. The image of the two leaders clinking their glasses spoke volumes about the strained relationship between the two countries. President Obama's expression was serious and reserved, while Putin's smile seemed out of place given the context of their interactions. The contrast in their expressions highlighted the underlying tension between them, one that had been building over years of geopolitical disagreements and differing views on issues like Ukraine, Syria, and international diplomacy. A different image from the same event further emphasized the awkwardness, showing Hillary Clinton smiling at Putin during the event. However, the toast itself seemed to encapsulate the uncomfortable nature of the moment. The photos were a stark reminder of the long-standing animosity between the two leaders, who had a history of difficult interactions and strained diplomacy. Fox News, covering the event, noted how the images spoke for themselves, providing a visual commentary on the lack of warmth between the two men. Politico echoed this sentiment, pointing out that Obama and Putin were not only uncomfortable with each other, but actively avoided any signs of camaraderie during their lunch. According to reports, a senior administration official described the subsequent 90-minute meeting between the two leaders as a businesslike and frank conversation. Putin himself confirmed the tone, acknowledging that the discussion was focused on serious, often contentious issues. The meeting seemed to underscore the differences between the two leaders, with no effort made to mask the fact that they were engaging in direct, often adversarial dialogue. The dinner and the toast served as a fitting symbol of the complicated and fraught relationship between the United States and Russia during Obama's presidency, characterized by moments of formality and diplomacy, but also marked by tension and mutual distrust. President Trump thrills America's Got Talent. In 2017, Jeff Tracta, also known as the Singing Trump, captivated audiences with his comical impersonation of President Donald Trump on America's Got Talent. Tracta, a skilled impressionist, gave viewers a taste of what a performance by a dancing Trump might look like, showcasing his ability to imitate the president's signature style. However, the true magic happened when a clever YouTuber decided to take the performance to the next level by blending it with footage of Queen Elizabeth II. The result was a humorous and unexpected mashup that had the internet buzzing with laughter. In the viral video, Tracta's Trump performance was seamlessly edited with footage of Queen Elizabeth, making it appear as though the two world leaders were dancing together. The juxtaposition of Trump's energetic and slightly awkward dancing with the dignified composure of Queen Elizabeth added a layer of absurdity that had viewers howling. Fans of America's Got Talent were left in shock and amusement, while the editing skillfully captured the contrasting personalities of the two figures, making it seem as though they were sharing a stage in a wild, uncharacteristic performance. The video quickly went viral, gaining over 16 million views by September 2024. One of the standout moments of the video was when Trump, in Tracta's performance, broke out into a lively rendition of Uptown Funk, with a backdrop of American flags creating a patriotic and over-the-top setting. The absurdity of the scenario, with the pomp and circumstance of the Queen of England paired with the playful, funky moves of a dancing Trump, was both hilarious and oddly entertaining. The mashup not only showcased Tracta's impressive impersonation skills, but also played on the public's fascination with seeing world leaders, particularly those as prominent as Trump and Queen Elizabeth, in unexpected, less-than-dignified situations. This playful mockery of political figures proved to be an internet sensation, capturing the imagination of millions who enjoyed seeing the world's most powerful figures portrayed in such a light-hearted, outlandish way. President George H.W. Bush vomited. On January 8, 1992, President George H.W. Bush made an unforgettable and highly embarrassing moment in history during a state dinner in Tokyo, Japan, as part of a 12-day diplomatic trip through Asia. The event took place during a dinner hosted by the Japanese Prime Minister Kiichi Mawa and was attended by various dignitaries, including the Emperor of Japan. Prior to the dinner, President Bush had played tennis with the Emperor, but it was reported that he had begun to feel unwell before the meal started. What happened next shocked the attendees and would become a widely discussed incident. According to Newsweek, as President Bush sat down for the dinner, he unexpectedly pushed back his chair and lost consciousness between the second and third courses. His body slumped to the left, and in a moment that stunned everyone, he vomited on Prime Minister Kiichi Mawa's lap. The event unfolded in real time before the shocked guests, with the president's wife, Barbara Bush, immediately jumping up to assist her husband. As chaos ensued, a Secret Service agent rushed to President Bush's aid. Once laid out and attended to by doctors, President Bush quickly regained consciousness. He reportedly told his physician, Dr. Burton Lee, to roll me under the table until dinner ends, showing a mix of self-awareness and humor despite the awkwardness of the situation. The entire dinner had been interrupted, but President Bush, ever the diplomat, apologized for the disturbance before quietly leaving the gathering. Later, doctors explained that President Bush had experienced a short-term illness, which was likely caused by a stomach bug. After taking medicine to alleviate his symptoms, the president was reportedly feeling much better and resumed his normal schedule the following day. Despite the embarrassing incident, Bush's ability to recover quickly and return to his duties helped him maintain his composure in the face of a situation that could have easily derailed his trip. The incident, however, remains one of the more bizarre and humorous moments in presidential history, highlighting both the unpredictable nature of travel and the personal resilience of President Bush during a challenging moment in the international spotlight. Trump pointed out the obvious. In 2018, Hurricane Florence ravaged the Carolinas, causing widespread devastation and leaving many Americans facing severe hardship. As the storm unleashed its fury, President Donald Trump sent a message of support to those affected by the disaster, acknowledging the heroic efforts of those working to assist the victims. However, his comments, meant to offer comfort and solidarity, quickly became the subject of mockery and ridicule. During his remarks, President Trump called Florence a tough hurricane, but it was his description of the storm that attracted attention. He stated that it was one of the wettest we've ever seen from a water standpoint, which seemed both obvious and unnecessary to many listeners. His attempt to provide a sense of understanding was met with laughter and criticism, as pointing out that water is, in fact, wet seemed an overly simplistic and almost childishly obvious statement. ABC News reported that the public reaction to Trump's speech was largely comedic, with many people poking fun at the president's seemingly redundant observation. Esquire even published a story with the headline, "The American President Explained is Wet," lampooning Trump for speaking to the public as if they were children. Social media was flooded with humorous responses to Trump's comment. One Twitter user jokingly said, "Today is one of the wettest days we've ever seen from a weather point of view." Another person took the opportunity to compare Trump's statement to a more mundane observation, quipping, "This coffee is hot. One of the hottest cups of coffee I've ever had." Despite the humorous backlash, Trump's statement, while seemingly absurd, was an attempt to address the gravity of the situation. Yet, his choice of words, rather than conveying empathy or understanding, became a punchline for those watching from afar. It also highlighted the fine line politicians often walk when addressing national tragedies, as even the most well-intentioned remarks can sometimes be misconstrued or become fodder for ridicule. President Bill Clinton avoided questions about Monica Lewinsky. In 1998, President Bill Clinton's testimony in front of a grand jury became one of the most notorious moments of his presidency, especially regarding his relationship with Monica Lewinsky, a former White House intern. During the proceedings, Clinton made a confusing and widely criticized remark about the meaning of the word is, which would become a key moment in the ongoing scandal. Clinton was addressing an affidavit in which Lewinsky claimed there had been no sex of any kind in any manner, shape, or form between her and the president. Instead of giving a straightforward answer, Clinton famously said, "It depends upon the meaning of the word is. If is means is and never has been, that is one thing. If it means there is none, that was a completely true statement." The phrasing of this statement immediately puzzled many and became a focal point of the media, as Clinton's attempt to parse the meaning of the word is seemed like an elaborate evasion rather than a clear explanation. The Daily Mail and other outlets later reported that Clinton's statements about not having had an affair with Lewinsky were ultimately shown to be false. In a televised address later that year, Clinton admitted to having had an inappropriate relationship with Lewinsky, acknowledging that it was wrong and expressing regret for his actions. Despite his public admission, the political fallout from the scandal escalated, leading to his impeachment in December 1998 on charges of perjury and obstruction of justice. Clinton became only the second U.S. president in history to be impeached. However, Clinton was acquitted in a Senate trial held in February 1999, where he was found not guilty on both charges. While he was not removed from office, the scandal had a lasting impact on his presidency and left a stain on his public image. The confusion over the word is remains one of the most infamous and quoted moments from the entire ordeal, symbolizing the often convoluted and evasive nature of political rhetoric during times of crisis. President George W. Bush's Mission Accomplished banner. On May 1, 2003, President George W. Bush delivered one of the most memorable and controversial speeches of his presidency on the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln. The backdrop was a massive banner reading, "Mission Accomplished. Major combat operations in Iraq have ended," which became infamous for its timing and message. At the speech, Bush declared, "In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed," signaling a premature sense of victory in the ongoing Iraq War. At the time, the speech was intended to celebrate the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime, following the successful initial invasion. However, many critics, especially Democrats, were disappointed with the spectacle and the rhetoric, fearing that the "Mission Accomplished" slogan would be used by Republicans as a potent symbol of success in future political campaigns. The image of Bush, wearing a flight suit and standing under the banner, was striking and seemed to convey that the war was essentially over. Yet these fears were ultimately realized in an ironic twist. The image would not become a symbol of triumph, but rather a poignant reminder of the prolonged conflict that followed. The war, which was supposed to be a swift victory, dragged on for many more years, and the phrase, "mission accomplished," became emblematic of the administration's miscalculations. As the years passed, the situation in Iraq deteriorated with growing insurgency, sectarian violence, and instability, making the banner's message appear increasingly disconnected from reality. Bush's approval ratings suffered as the war continued, and the mission accomplished moment became a powerful symbol of the public's dissatisfaction with the prolonged conflict. By the time of his final press conference as president, Bush acknowledged the mistake of the mission accomplished moment. He stated, "Clearly, putting mission accomplished on an aircraft carrier was a mistake," and admitted, "It sent the wrong message." This statement reflected the deepening realization of how ill-timed and misleading that image had been in light of the ongoing challenges in Iraq. The speech, intended to signal the end of the conflict, instead became a lasting symbol of the war's unanticipated longevity and complexity, remaining a subject of public criticism and political discourse for years to come. President Barack Obama's awkward handshake with President Raul Castro. On March 21, 2016, President Barack Obama made history by becoming the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba in 88 years. His visit was part of a broader effort to improve diplomatic relations between the United States and Cuba, a significant move after decades of strained ties. However, while the trip was hailed as a landmark moment in U.S.-Cuba relations, it was an unexpected and awkward interaction between Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro that drew widespread attention. During their meeting, the two leaders shared a handshake that quickly became the subject of online discussion. As ABC News reported, the handshake was notably strained. President Obama appeared to try to avoid fully supporting Castro's hand, leading to Castro grabbing Obama's wrist in an apparent attempt to ensure the handshake didn't falter. The awkwardness of the moment was palpable, and it quickly became the focus of social media users, with many poking fun at the exchange. Some Twitter users compared the moment to a judge calling out the winner of a prize fight, humorously framing the interaction as an awkward contest of strength and control. The White House, however, offered some context for Obama's seemingly reluctant handshake. Press Secretary Josh Earnest explained that the president was likely trying to avoid creating an image that could be interpreted as overly friendly or supportive of Castro, given the history of U.S.-Cuba relations. Earnest mentioned that Castro might have had in mind an iconic image of Obama with his arms raised, a moment that could have been misconstrued as a political endorsement of the Cuban regime. According to Earnest, Obama's more restrained behavior during the handshake was intentional, as he sought to avoid any perceptions of false deals being made between the two leaders. Despite the awkwardness, Earnest added a light-hearted comment on Castro's quick reflexes, noting that for an 84-year-old leader, Castro still had some pretty quick reflexes. The moment, though unusual, became an unintentional symbol of the complexities of diplomacy and the careful navigation required when dealing with foreign leaders with whom historical tensions have existed. While the handshake may have seemed clumsy, the underlying message of Obama's visit was one of progress and reconciliation, even if it came with some unanticipated awkwardness. President Richard Nixon's resignation. On August 8, 1974, President Richard Nixon made history by becoming the first U.S. president to resign from office. The decision to step down came after a prolonged period of public and governmental backlash, primarily due to his involvement in the Watergate scandal. The series of events surrounding the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters and the subsequent cover-up led to an investigation that uncovered Nixon's role in obstructing justice. As pressure mounted, the impeachment process began to gain momentum, and Nixon faced the inevitable prospect of being removed from office. In a somber televised address, Nixon told the American people, "I hope that I will have hastened the start of the healing process, which is so desperately needed in America." His words reflected the gravity of the moment, acknowledging the deep divisions that had emerged in the country due to the Watergate scandal. Despite the personal and political costs, Nixon's resignation was framed as an attempt to bring an end to the crisis and restore stability to the nation. The following day, Nixon and his family left the White House in a helicopter, marking a dramatic and emotional end to his presidency. As he boarded the helicopter, Nixon raised his arms in a final salute to the White House, a symbolic gesture marking his exit from the highest office in the land. The family then returned to their private residence in San Clemente, California, where Nixon would begin the next chapter of his life. Just minutes after Nixon's resignation, Vice President Gerald R. Ford was sworn in as the 38th President of the United States. Ford, who had assumed the vice presidency after Spiro T. Agnew's resignation, faced the enormous task of healing a fractured nation. In his first address as president, Ford reassured the American people, declaring, "My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over." This statement acknowledged the immense sense of relief many felt after the tumultuous events of the Watergate scandal, while also signaling a new era of leadership. In a controversial move, President Ford later granted Nixon a full pardon for any crimes he may have committed while in office, a decision that was met with both praise and criticism. Ford explained that he did not want the ongoing scandal to further divide the country, and he believed that moving forward with a clean slate was necessary for the nation's healing. While this decision was widely criticized at the time, it was also seen by some as an act of national reconciliation aimed at moving past the bitter divisions created by the Watergate crisis. Bill Clinton and George W. Bush's surprise comedy routine. In 2014, a surprising and heartwarming moment occurred when former U.S. Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush appeared together on stage for the launch of the Presidential Leadership Scholars Program. Although this event was a formal one, the atmosphere quickly turned into something much more lighthearted, as the two former leaders shared humorous exchanges and playful banter, delighting the audience with their camaraderie. Bush set the tone with a joke about the media's focus on his post-presidency life, quipping, "At least they're still asking," which got a laugh from the crowd. The humor continued as the two men interacted, clearly enjoying each other's company despite their differing political backgrounds. The event was intended to launch the new leadership program, but it quickly became evident that it was just as much about the two former presidents' personal connection as it was about politics. The laughter continued when Clinton's phone unexpectedly rang during the event. Not missing a beat, he joked that only 2 people had his phone number, so it must be family calling. With a playful smirk, Clinton speculated that perhaps the call was to inform him that he was going to be a grandfather. Bush, quick to add to the moment, chimed in with some humorous tips on grandparenting, providing the audience with a moment of genuine levity. Despite their years of political rivalry, Clinton and Bush's easy rapport demonstrated a deep mutual respect and admiration for one another. Their ability to joke and laugh together showcased a rare moment of unity and humanity in an often divisive political landscape. The audience was surprised by how well the two men got along, with their playful exchanges transcending party lines. What was intended as a formal program about leadership became a reminder of the personal connections that can exist even between political figures on opposite ends of the spectrum. Their interaction served as a powerful, albeit unexpected, display of friendship and shared values, resonating with the audience long after the event. Obama on Kanye West. In 2009, President Barack Obama found himself unintentionally caught in the media whirlwind surrounding one of the most infamous moments in MTV Video Music Awards history. The controversy erupted when Kanye West stormed the stage during Taylor Swift's acceptance speech for Best Female Video, interrupting her to declare that Beyoncé deserved the award instead. The interruption caused an immediate backlash, with many condemning West's behavior as rude and disrespectful. When the incident was brought up during an off-the-record moment, President Obama didn't hold back. Asked for his opinion, he candidly referred to Kanye West as a jackass, a remark made without hesitation or filtering. At the time, Obama was not speaking publicly on the issue, so his comment was intended to remain private. However, in the age of social media, the offhand remark quickly found its way into the public sphere. A reporter who overheard the comment tweeted it, and, as expected, it went viral almost immediately. The comment sparked a wave of media attention, with the phrase jackass echoing through news cycles and social media. However, the unexpected incident also revealed a more relaxed, candid side of President Obama. He was typically known for his measured and diplomatic rhetoric, so hearing him speak in such a direct and unfiltered manner caught the public's attention. People were amused by the rare glimpse into Obama's more casual and unscripted persona, and they appreciated his willingness to speak his mind, especially in a situation that many would have chosen to avoid commenting on. Obama's off-the-cuff remark became one of the more lighthearted and humanizing moments of his presidency, allowing the public to see a side of him that wasn't always visible in the formal, often serious context of his leadership. The comment, while meant as a simple expression of disapproval of West's actions, turned into one of Obama's funniest and most relatable moments, reminding the public that even presidents can have unfiltered opinions and sometimes find humor in the unexpected. South Korean president steals the show at the White House. In April 2023, an unexpected and memorable moment unfolded at the White House when South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol took to the stage and serenaded the audience with a heartfelt rendition of Don McLean's iconic song, American Pie. The event, which was hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden, had originally featured performances by a number of Broadway stars, showcasing their talents to an appreciative crowd. The atmosphere was festive and celebratory, but no one anticipated what would happen next. After the Broadway performances, President Biden, eager to keep the momentum going, invited President Yoon to join in the festivities. Much to the astonishment of everyone present, Yoon accepted the invitation and, without hesitation, grabbed the microphone. He then launched into the opening lines of American Pie, singing in English, a move that both surprised and delighted the audience. His confident and impassioned performance captivated the crowd, who quickly rose to their feet in applause. Even the Broadway performers, who had just wrapped up their own show-stopping acts, joined in the applause, impressed by Yoon's unexpected talent. The performance was a hit, and President Biden, clearly delighted by the impromptu moment, presented President Yoon with a special gift, a guitar signed by none other than Don McLean himself. The gift was a token of appreciation for Yoon's spontaneous performance, which had undeniably stolen the show. It was a rare and significant moment in White House history, where a foreign leader, without prior preparation, captured the hearts and admiration of the audience with his charismatic and genuine display of talent. President Yoon's unexpected rendition of American Pie became a standout highlight of the event, symbolizing the deep cultural exchange and personal rapport between the two leaders. It was an unplanned yet unforgettable moment that demonstrated the power of music and performance to transcend political boundaries, leaving a lasting impression on those who witnessed it. First, Lady Nancy Reagan learns to breakdance. In 1985, First Lady Nancy Reagan, widely recognized for her serious commitment to promoting the anti-drug Just Say No program, shocked the public by revealing a fun and unexpected side of herself. At a White House event, Reagan took part in an impromptu breakdancing lesson, a moment that was captured live by CNN and would go on to become a defining and delightful chapter in her legacy. The event, which took place in the midst of her public advocacy for youth anti-drug initiatives, featured a group of young dancers who were invited to demonstrate the energetic and popular urban dance form. While the event was meant to highlight the positive influence of youth culture, It turned into something far more memorable when the First Lady herself got involved. In a surprising twist, Reagan stepped forward, eager to learn the moves from the dancers. Despite her poised and polished public persona, she showed an impressive sense of humor and an openness to trying something new. With her elegant style, Reagan awkwardly but enthusiastically attempted a few breakdancing moves, showing a fun and lighthearted side that not many had seen before. The sight of the First Lady getting down on the floor and participating in an activity typically associated with youth culture was both humorous and endearing, creating a moment of joy and levity for those who witnessed it. This rare moment was broadcast live and later made its way to YouTube, where it has remained a beloved clip for fans of both history and pop culture. Nancy Reagan's willingness to step out of her serious First Lady role and engage in something as playful as breakdancing not only surprised, but also endeared her to the public. It became a symbol of her ability to balance her serious advocacy work with a down-to-earth, approachable side that few could have anticipated from a public figure with such a high-profile image. Thanks to CNN's decision to preserve the footage, viewers across the world could relive this unforgettable moment for years to come, cementing Reagan's place in pop culture history for more than just her political efforts. What do you think about these incidents? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.